Welcome to another episode of Small Screen Cinema with Tabitha and Dad. Yes, we are the ones who bring this magic to you. After a combined about 95 hours of research, study, watching, rewatching, and rewatching, and watching and rewatching, Tabitha and I we boil this down into 1 hour. Um, and
Not easy editing everything that we have to say.
yeah, it's a good thing we have a lot of sponsorship who support us. Otherwise, we'd never be able to afford this. So.
I see the state of Maine is sponsoring us this week.
Yes, state of Maine, and so are eclipses. Yes, eclipses.
It's my total eclipse of the heart shirt.
Oh, okay. Bonnie Bonnie Tyler is sponsoring us too, along
So
with the
nice of her.
Chicago Cubs. Yeah. So, all right, Tabitha, this is a fun movie. Tell everybody what we're watching.
So today we are watching a movie called The Letters. And The Letters is actually a failed pilot movie that was developed by Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg. There were actually two of them. There was this one and its sequels, Letters from Three Lovers. Both had pretty stacked casts, and Henry Jones plays the postman in both of them. But unfortunately, it didn't get picked up to go to series. This movie was written by James G. Hirsch, Ellis Marcus, and Hal Sidowitz. James G. Hirsch had a lot of TV movies to his name, including one I plan to get to at some point called The Rape of Richard Beck. No point beating around the bush, I guess. In fact, most of his writing credits are for telefilms, and this movie is his second IMDb credits. He was a producer on a lot of these films as well. He produced a few Heart to Heart reunion movies and wrote one of those. He
He's
was a producer on Nash Bridges, and in the 2000s, he produced that show Rome. And I could not find out whether he is still with us or not. Ellis Marcus wrote for a ton of shows like Ben Casey, Mission Impossible, Shaft, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Knots Landing, Lassie, and Leave It to Beaver.
yes.
His last television gig was writing for General Hospital in the late 80s, and Marcus passed away in 1990 at 72. Hal Sidowitz wrote for shows like The Rookies, Streets of San Francisco, and Gunsmoke. Later on, he worked almost exclusively in TV movies, but he did help develop O'Hara, the two-season cop show starring Pat Morita. I don't know if you have ever heard of that.
No. Wait a
No.
minute.
Well,
O'Hara. That sounds like a an Irish name. Pat Morita is Japanese.
thank you.
Okay.
Ohara. Maybe I wrote it down wrong and it's Ohana. No, that's Hawaiian.
Ohana means family.
Shut up. Hold on. Now you've got me all. No, I'm right. It's O'Hara. You're trying to make me look stupid in front of our
No,
guests.
I'm just saying he's that sounds like an Irish name and he's Japanese.
Well, there's no apostrophe, so it's a Japanese word.
Oh, well, I guess the
It's not like
Irish
O'Sullivan.
the Irish were so far ahead of the Japanese when it came to apostrophes. I mean, so far ahead, hundreds of
Mhm.
years. In fact, I don't even know if
Any
Japan has developed an apostrophe yet.
wow. Anyway, Sidowitz passed away in 2004 at 71. The Letters was directed by Paul Krasny and Gene Nelson. Krasny directed for shows like Hawaii Five-O. You probably can't hear that. My
Hawaii,
kid's going crazy out there.
I, oh my gosh, Hawaii Five-O.
Police Story, Mannix, Chips, Miami Vice, Dallas, and MacGyver. He also worked on a bunch of TV movies. His last credit was a TV movie called Search and Rescue. Krasny passed away in 2001 at 66. Now, Gene Nelson is interesting because he was an actor as well as a director. In fact, you might know him as Will Parker from Oklahoma.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, the poor dumb sack whose girlfriend's giving it away all over town for free.
Yeah, we've all had girlfriends like that.
She can't say no. There's a whole song about it. He directed an Elvis movie, Kissin' Cousins, Fun fact, I've seen that one twice. He also directed TV shows like The Rifleman, The Andy Griffith Show, Donna Reed Show, Gilligan's Island, Star Trek, The Mod Squad, Get Christy Love, and Starsky and Hutch.
Ah,
And just I never knew all this information about the B story guy in Oklahoma. That's really fascinating to me. He passed away at age 76 in 1996. By the way, the reason that there are so many writers and two directors is because this is an anthology movie made up of three segments, so some writers worked on one or two segments. Gene Nelson directed the first two, and Paul Krasny directed the last one. And The Letters has a ton of name actors, so I'm going to try and breeze through this. John Forsythe, star of Dynasty. He was in Trouble with Harry, In Cold Blood, Scrooge, and was the voice of Charlie in the 2000 Charlie's Angels movies. He passed away in 2012 at age 92. Good for him. That's a good long life. Barbara Stanwyck, star of The Big Valley and huge classic movie star. The Lady Eve, Sorry Wrong Number, and probably most famously Double Indemnity. She passed away in 1990 at age 82. Ida Lupino, an actress, yes, but much more significantly, one of the first female directors after Hollywood decided that actually directing is for men only, so get out. She was the only female director working in Hollywood in the 50s, and her most remembered film is the noir The Hitchhiker. As an actress, she was in movies like High Sierra with Humphrey Bogart, and she gives a great performance in a movie called Ladies in Retirement. I recommend that one. Lupino passed away in 1995 at 77. Jane Powell, who I know as Millie from Seven Brides and Seven Brothers. And I don't care what anyone says, I love that movie. You can't take it away from me.
me too.
She did a fair bit of musicals in the 50s. She also worked on the stage on shows like South Pacific, Carousel, and The Sound of Music. She occasionally made appearances on TV, and her last TV gig was in 2002 on an episode of Law and Order SVU, a
Hmm.
show that is still chugging along after 25-ish years. And she actually just passed away a few years ago in 2021 at 92. Leslie Nielsen, star of The Naked Gun and Airplane, and some serious stuff like Forbidden Planet and Creepshow. Very funny guy.
Yeah, those are real serious.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're not
is more
comedies. Well,
dramatic.
Creepshow's
Yeah.
sort of a comedy. He died in 2010 at 84. Leslie Ann Warren from Clue and Victor Victoria. Yes,
She's credited as Leslie Warren.
I was getting to that.
Okay. She
Yes.
earned her Ann with this movie.
She is still alive and working today. She was just on an episode of 911 last year. Good for her. Pamela Franklin, who was a child actor. She played the little girl Flora in a great horror movie called The Innocents. She was in other horror films as she got older, like And Soon the Darkness and The Legend of Hell House. She eventually found work too hard to come by and left the business by the 1980s. But she is still alive, and she is 76 today. Ben Murphy, Kid Curry from
And I
Alias
know
Smith and
that's how
Jones.
you found this movie, I bet.
Probably, yeah. He also
Wait a
worked on
minute.
shows.
Isn't he
What?
known for the Omega Man or something like that? Isn't
The
that his big
Gemini Man.
the Gemini Man? Yeah. Hey,
I
what
mean, I feel like you're the
have to
only
see.
one who remembers that show.
I watched
Because
a
it,
few episodes and then suddenly it was gone. I didn't realize it was Ben Murphy until I got older.
yeah,
But
yeah, it didn't last very long. But he actually had a bunch of shows that only made it to like 12, 13 episodes, poor guy. There was one I was interested in called Lottery, so if anyone knows where those episodes are, not in German, please send them to me. He guest starred on shows like Trapper John, The Mod Squad, Love American Style, and NCIS later in life. He was in the original Yours, Mine, and Ours. Hello, Scully. Scully, out, out, please. Thank you. And he is still alive today, and he is 83 or 84. And finally, we have Henry Jones as the postman. And he had roles in movies like Vertigo, 310 to Yuma, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And he worked on TV in the from the early days of George Burns and Gracie Allen, all the way to Coach in the 1990s. He also played the asshole doctor in Arachnophobia.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, the one who got what was coming to him. And that's it. I'm done with this cast. If I forgot anyone super important, I'm sorry.
There is one I couldn't find who it was. I
Hmm.
looked it up in the first vignette, whatever you call it. The son of the couple who
Hmm.
wanted the green bottle. I could not. I've seen him and stuff, but I don't know his name. And when I looked it up, I couldn't find like anything on him. So
Hmm.
maybe my eyes deceived me. I don't know.
I did not look him up. Apologies.
I couldn't find him. I looked him up. Couldn't
Oh,
find him.
well, okay. He disappeared. I don't know what to tell you.
He was probably AI.
That tech's been around a lot longer than
Well,
than
wait a
they've let
minute.
us know.
According to our Secretary of Education, A1.
See, I didn't even hear about that.
You didn't hear the Linda McMahon? Yes, the wrestling mogul
No,
who's
I really try to block it out as much I can,
she was
much as
she
I
was
can.
she was on an interview, like a news interview, and she's telling, we need to get ready for our students to learn using A1. And she must have called it A1 4 or 5 times. It was so freaking embarrassing.
And no one corrected her.
Huh?
And no one corrected her.
I think they were all just stunned, like, this is our Secretary of Education. Hmm. No wonder Canada doesn't want to be annexed so bad. No, no, no. We know the difference between steak sauce and computer animated information.
Anyway, The Letters aired March 6, 1973 on ABC. It ran against Hawaii Five-O and the movie The Crime Club on CBS. And on NBC, it ran against um a movie called The President's Analyst. The version I saw on YouTube had the ABC Movie of the Week intro bumper, so that was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
That brought back memories for me. So
um okay. So we start out on a quiet suburban street and our postman tells us that the mailman usually delivers 1100 letters a day. Letters about births and deaths, and this is such a bygone era. The last time I got an actual letter, I was 12. There's just no need to send letters anymore, you know?
yeah.
Uh, Postman goes on to ask us if we ever thought what it would be like if our letters never got delivered, if urgent messages were delivered too late. It could change lives. And he recalls a time when 3 letters were delivered a year late. And I must ask, sir, was that your fault? Turns out it wasn't, but we don't know that yet. Then we get a poorly timed freeze frame while the opening credits play. And this is where I noted that Leslie Ann Warren is credited as Leslie Warren. So we start out with our first story about the Andersons, a couple who look to be at least in their mid 50s, and they're somehow two prepubescent children. The, the dad, Paul, is going on a trip, and his wife, Elaine, is about to drive him to the airport. Their 2 kids see him off, and he asks if they want him to bring anything back. So they are like, "Yeah, we want this, we want that, whatever." And so off the parents go to the airport, and I have to say, Jane Powell looks really cool in her 70s outfit. I was kind of into it. They say goodbye, and she seems way more invested in this marriage than he does. She says she'll miss him. He stares at her and then walks away.
Yeah.
Not a great sign. And these were the fun ways when apparently the fun days when you could just board the plane straight from the runway. Did you ever get to do that?
I don't I didn't fly until I was like 30.
Oh,
Um, so I don't know, I may have like the first few times I flew, but
No. I was just like, isn't it loud as hell out there? But whatever. So Paul sits.
yeah, yeah. No, I never boarded from the ground.
That's
I
what I meant. Yeah.
thought you were talking about going through all the shit we go through nowadays. You
Yeah,
know,
no.
taking off your shoes, your belt,
Yeah,
so
the stairs. Like in Arrested Development, they drove the stairs. The
yeah.
plane stairs, yeah. So Paul boards the plane, he sits next to a young woman, and without looking at each other, they hold hands. So this is his mistress, Laura, who he's had for a while. That son of a bitch. She
Who's
asks,
who's half his age, by the way.
yeah, she's very young. She asks if it was difficult, and he says he didn't tell her. Well, she's not happy about that. She was really hoping to destroy this family and upend two kids in an innocent woman's lives. Damn. He says he's been married 14 years, so it's not easy. And I'm like, 14 years? You're 60. When did you get married, sir? Cut to a montage of these two cheating assholes frolicking on the beach, having their gross little affair where nothing matters except the two of them. And we get a voiceover of Paul dumping Elaine via letter, saying, "Oh, I'll always take care of you and the kids, and I wish I didn't have to hurt you." And I'm like, well, you don't. You don't have to, but whatever. He wants to explain to the kids that divorce is not the end. It can be a beginning, too. Piss off, Paul. God, it might be some great new adventure for you, but I don't think your family's gonna see it that way.
I was just waiting for him to include in the letter. You can go back to the Appalachians and remarry Adam Potapi.
So, in the hotel room, Paul's not feeling great. And he slips up and he calls Laura Elaine. He apologizes and she brushes it off and tells him to just get ready because they have to make their reservation. He's like, "Can't we just stay here and eat in the room?" And she says, "No, they can't. We promised to meet another couple, the Hortons." What? You
They
take your
heard of
side
who?
piece on double dates?
And
God.
I like how he basically is saying in early 70s TV lingo, I just got a shit, man.
He encourages her to go on to dinner without him, and she promises it'll be quick and then she'll be back. So he goes back to his letter, but finds a note from his son and starts feeling guilty. But not guilty enough to stop banging the 30-year-old or however old she was. So the next day at the beach, kids are playing and like a beach ball or something accidentally rolls into their tent. And
All the
Laura's,
football. They're
oh, was
shaped
it a
completely
was it a
different.
football? I wasn't looking. Some kind of ball.
A bowling ball came crashing it. No,
A
it was a
wrecking ball just
cannonball
came in and destroyed.
with Miley Cyrus. Wow, look out.
I'm sorry, a football. And Laura gets all Karen about kids and how they shouldn't even allow kids at the hotel. Okay? And he's like, they're just kids playing. And she snaps, well, they should play somewhere else. Who ever heard of children playing at the beach? And he's starting to think that maybe his young mistress might not be the best stepmother material. And she defends herself. She's like, well, I love kids. Yeah, clearly. And once they get married, she wants to have his children. And he's like, well, I already have children.
And
And
grandchildren and great grandchildren.
well, and she stares after him like, oh, I kind of thought you would be ditching them once we got married. Ugh. This whole thing is so gross. So John off screen, I guess, has decided to break things off with Laura and go back home to his poor, deceived wife. And Laura's crying while he packs, and he hands her an envelope with some money in it and tickets back home like she's a sex worker. She asks him not to run away and to just stay and talk about it. And I'm like, okay, running away is what he's doing with you, honey. And he said it would always end this way because he's part of a family. And I'm like, well, apparently you didn't tell her that when you started this, because she was under the impression you were leaving that family. Oh, and then he says he's too old to start a new one.
That's the only honest thing he has said so far.
I think so. I think he just doesn't want to go through the whole thing again. Uh, Laura says you never even intended to write that letter. And he's like, no, no, I did. So he shows it to her, stamped and sealed. He just couldn't mail it. And then he somehow drops it without realizing it.
Because he's old.
She's
Where's
still
that
begging,
letter?
she's still begging him to stay. And he's like, sorry, baby, Papa's a Rolling Stone. And then he pieces out. Now, look, I'm not saying that no one should ever get divorced or that you should stay in an unhappy marriage. Sometimes divorce can be the best thing for everyone involved, even if it's hard going through this. I'm just saying these two specifically are assholes. That's all.
Well, I'm also I don't see any evidence that he has a bad marriage
No, he's probably just going through a midlife crisis.
or late life crisis in his.
Good point. Yeah. So on the flight home, he realizes that he's lost his Dear John letter. And back at the hotel, Laura finds it and she will have her revenge. She has it mailed. To be continued. On to the second letter, the Parkingtons. We are introduced to Derek Childs playing the piano at a very small showcase. And a woman named Penny applauds him and tells him, "Oh, you were wonderful." After it's over, and he's like, "Shut up! This sucks. I suck. You suck. I'm through playing these rinky-dink recitals." He says, "Quote: God only gave me enough talent to see what success might be like, and for 20 years, all I've ever done is taste it, smell it. So God is Lucy with a football, and Derek is Charlie Brown." And he tells him that he's better than most and he just needs a well financed, well planned concert tour. He apologizes to her and says he wants to marry her, and she happily accepts. The next day, he goes over to her mansion, but her femme fatale sister, Geraldine, comes back into town at the same time. Penny asks her, please don't spoil this for me, not this time. And Geraldine's like, oh, you better tell him the truth or I will. And oh, and you know how much pleasure that would bring me. And Barbara Stanwyck was always great at playing a bitch.
Yeah, she fit the role good.
Yeah. So Penny introduces the two reluctantly, and Geraldine calls him Eric, and Penny's like, it's Derek. She's like, sorry, but I like Eric better. She's just not even hiding how awful she is. He's instantly put off by her for the moment because he finds out that Penny's money isn't her own. It's actually Geraldine's money, and Geraldine gives her a yearly allowance of what was it? What was it?
10 grand or something like that.
10 grand, which I guess was a lot in the 70s. Penny explains that their father only had two things to give: love and money, and he couldn't give both of them away to both girls at the same time. So Penny got love and Geraldine got money. And this
See,
is, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I think that could you not have written a better explanation for this? It's like
I guess not.
we're gonna have this scenario here where she's got the house and she's letting her sister. We got to find out a rationale for this. Instead of coming up with something logical, they just said, "Oh, how about Dad just had love for one and money for the other?" It was like that's it. But anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I could see why that would make Geraldine so vengeful. Um, but speaking of which, this is where I have to ask you, do you have money that you've been giving to one of my sisters or my brother? Because if so, I'll trade the love. You just give me the money, it's fine.
Well, $10,000 is such a paltry allowance, so I give them a little more per year. It's like 100,000. So,
I knew it.
but you have my heart.
What am I going to do with that? So Derek is clearly unhappy by this news. He was obviously using poor Penny because he thought she was rich. That night, Derek gives what he swore would be his last rinky-dink recital to Geraldine and Geraldine alone. She bought the house out for the performance, and suddenly Derek is much more interested in her, and I just can't imagine why. He goes back to change, and Penny goes to Geraldine and she says, "You can't have him, he's mine." And this is how Death Becomes Her starts, by the way.
Hmm.
Geraldine says if she wants him, she will take him. And yeah, she's gonna take him. So
Yeah.
sorry, Penny.
Let me
Uh,
say this real quick. I'd seen Leslie Nielsen in a lot of stuff growing up, most notably the Poseidon Adventure. But since the Naked Gun movies and all the movies he did later in his career, I'm just waiting for him to break out with a dry, deadpan joke in everything I watch him in now. It's like, come on, do something, be Frank Drebin it up for me. Come on now.
yeah, I know. Again, um, Penny yells at Geraldine that she should have just let her die. You see, Geraldine once tried to commit suicide and Penny saved her life. Geraldine mocks her for it, saying that if she'd have let her die, she'd have it all, but you were too soft-hearted to do that. I guess that's kind of like a thank you. And then she calmly tells her that Derek doesn't even love her, she just loves her money, so she will be taking him. And suddenly smash cut to Derek and Geraldine getting married. Just imagine what that conversation was like. Listen, baby, I'm dumping you for your rich sister. Here's where we're registered. Like, God. On their honeymoon, Geraldine promises she'll get him the best concert tour money can buy, and he's just like, when? Well, whenever she decides. And yeah, this is where I wrote down, Nielsen isn't very funny in this. I haven't laughed once. But honestly, when he's not going for laughs, he actually pulled off intimidating pretty well in some of the things I've seen.
Oh yeah, he can act. He
Yeah.
was a great actor.
He walks in on her writing a letter, and she puts it in the mail before the two head off to get trash together. He keeps They're on his boat below deck, and he keeps plying her with drinks, and it's pretty clear what's happening here, if unless you're Geraldine. And she passes out hard. He checks to see if she can be roused. Nope. So he grabs a pocket knife, wipes his fingerprints off, puts it in her hands, and then cuts her wrists. She tried to kill herself before, so no one would question that she did it again, is his rationale here. But oh, what was in that letter that got lost for a year that was addressed to Penny? We'll find out later. For now, on to story 3.
With
The
Ben
Foresters.
Murphy.
What?
With
Yeah,
Ben
Ben
Murphy.
Murphy. So a young adult, I get, what is she, like 18 or so?
Yes, young teenage or older teenager, somewhere around there.
Yeah. She hops into a friend's car who sneaks her off to meet her boyfriend, Joe. She asks him to marry her, and he's like, "Will you quit bringing that up, please? I don't want to get married." She's been hiding him from her mom. She doesn't want to hide it anymore. She wants to openly be with him and get married. And he says, "Okay, we can talk to your mom about it," because he says, "I do love you. It's not about that." Um, and she's like, "Okay, then I want you to ask me to marry you." And so he does, and she's ecstatic, and she heads out, and Joe flashes back to when he was in discount NASCAR. The guys he meets at the track tell him that the race I guess he was supposed to do is all off, that Hastings has another driver and you're looking at him. And Joe wants to hear it from Hastings himself. Joe and this bully driver decide to race each other because cars are nothing if not big mechanical penises.
That's why I drive a Chevy Spark.
Well, Joe wins. The other guy crashes and the car explodes and he dies. And his two lackeys are like, "You killed Sonny! That was my brother, you dirty rat!" So Joe flees, even though they were just racing and he crashed. I don't really see how that's his fault, but he flees. And in the present, Joe meets Mrs. Forrester. She tells him to leave Karen alone, that it won't work, and I guess the issue is he's poor. And
That's what it seemed to me that because he was a mechanic.
yeah. Anyway, she somehow knows about the car accident and uses it to blackmail him. He tells her, "Oh, you're really something else." And she's like, "I'm a mother, that's all." No, no, no. I would never interfere in my child's love life like this,
Oh,
you know?
I remember all the guys I used to run off. I
Yeah.
remember when you had that poor mechanic race car driver slash guy, and I ran him off.
Yeah, I remember when I dated Ben Murphy, yeah.
Yeah, I ran him off. I said, "Get out of here! You're 70 years old." So,
I mean,
who do you think you are,
you
John Forsythe?
I mean, you were always like, it's your life. And my mom definitely had opinions, but she never outright interfered.
Well, I think
Um,
if you if you think that you've raised your kid to where they have kind of a level head, you kind of trust their judgment. And if you don't think the relationship's right, I have found let it play out a little bit and let them decide
mhm.
whether or
No,
not
I
to
agree.
pursue it. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to take advice on marriage and relationships from your dad when he's been divorced twice. So, I'm kind of like,
No,
I don't know what I'm
that's a
doing.
fair point.
Yeah. I just opened up the Russian bride thing and picked one. And sometimes sometimes you get a winner, sometimes you get a loser. That's how it goes.
She's like, "Give my daughter a chance to live. Give her a chance at happiness." And I'm like, "She is happy." What? She's very frustrating. Ida Lupino was also in an episode of Alias Smith and Jones, but it was a Roger Davis episode, which means I might be the only Alias Smith and Jones fan who's actually seen it.
Okay.
And
But
she was a
that's,
bitch in that too.
I was going to say, that's where the friction between the two actually started because the way the script was written, she was supposed to really like, oh, yeah, he's a good guy. But no, she couldn't go there. She hated him from her experience on Alias Smith and Jones. Just,
You are so right. That's what happened.
oh,
He was such a diva on set. So Joe sadly leaves town in the rain on his motorcycle because that's
yes,
how bad boys go.
you do not ride a motorcycle in pouring rain. You don't. I, I I had a friend when I lived in Kansas City. He and his teenage son were on their motorcycle just out riding, and a storm quickly rose up, one of these spot storms, and they were driving slow and they lost control and wiped out. Luckily, the injuries were minor, but yeah, you don't ride motorcycles in the rain.
Okay, I won't.
Yeah, I'm mad at him. Maybe he wasn't ready to be her husband. Maybe he was just too stupid. But anyway, go ahead.
It's possible. Anyway, Karen confronts her mom, saying that she knows Joe wouldn't just leave her like that, to tell her the truth, and Mama just refuses to do that. She insists that Joe left town of his own volition. So Joe keeps calling the Forrester house, and Mama Forrester is like, "I said, back off." Anyway, she may have acted too soon because then she finds out that Karen is in a family way, if you know what I mean.
No,
And now, no,
what's wrong?
you don't know?
No,
She's got a bun in the oven.
no. Her buns are her butt. There's nothing in an oven. I don't know what you're talking about. I know she's knocked up, but
So now this little baby will be a little bastard. And what will the women at the country club think? How will they be able to handle their iced teas after hearing such a scandal? Karen insists that she's keeping the baby and that mom better not try and say anything about it because she will leave if she has to. And I guess to mom's credit, she doesn't like kick her out or insist she give it up or anything. But she does find herself in quite the pickle now because Joe's not calling again and she doesn't know where he is. Joe is still sadly drifting from town to town, and he was much happier when he was drifting as a cowboy than he is as a biker. He writes a letter to Mrs. Forrester and he says that she was right back then, but he's going back to turn himself in because he knows he's innocent, that what happened was an accident, and if he can prove it, he's going to be with Karen. And he's pleased with himself. He goes off to mail the letter when he is creamed by a car off screen because they spent their budget on that explosion earlier. It's just so badly done. I couldn't help but laugh. Literally, he walks off and you hear, "Ah!"
yeah, and he's laying there in the road, and you hear the guy who hit him said, "Oh, the fool ran out in front of me with absolutely no compassion." I thought, "Oh my gosh, you're a member of ICE."
Yeah, it's. Oof. Do you want out? Sorry, the little dog is in here. Fine, go away. So yeah, Joe's dead, and his landlady immediately grabs this letter and calls Mrs. Forrester to tell her. And I mean, she does this all in like 30 seconds. There's no, oh my God, I just saw this young man killed right in front of me. There's no shock or anything. She just moves into action. And I just don't know if I could pull it together that fast. Uh, Mama breaks the news to Karen, but of course leaves out that this is all her fault and was entirely preventable. The landlady immediately after hanging up goes and mails the letter. And then I guess she goes and has dinner. It's really weird. To be continued. So now we see all three letters travel through the postal system. They're put on a carrier plane, which promptly crashes. So they blew the budget on two explosions, but they couldn't show Ben Murphy getting hit by a car. Anyway, the mailbag was lost in the wreckage for almost a year. Unclear if the pilot died or not. They don't mention that. Until two rock climbers found it. And are these like government workers or just adventurers checking out the wreckage that no one else ever bothered with?
I don't know. They were in civilian clothes, so I just assumed they were just hobbyists and found it.
Yeah, you'd think that somebody would have found that within the last year, it being the U.S. mail and all, but whatever.
Yeah. No. I saw this movie where this guy was on this island and a UPS boxes floated up and he couldn't open one of them for some reason. It had wings on it.
Uh-huh.
That's end of story.
End of story. Okay, great. So the postman finally receives the letters and sets out to deliver them. So now we're back to the Andersons, and it looks like Paul is putting more effort into their marriage, but it also looks like Elaine is pregnant.
Yes,
How?
yes. I don't know. I
She
do
went through
know
menopause 5 years ago.
there was up until this new stuff where they're just putting fertilized eggs in mummies now. I do know that for a long time there was a 56-year-old woman, I think in Australia, who this was in the 70s or 60s, had a baby naturally, and that was the world record for
Wow.
oldest mother. So um, I
I
I
mean,
I guess there.
Yoko Ono was in her late 40s, I think, when Sean was born. So, I mean, I know it's possible, but it's
Yeah,
not like very likely. Anyway, so the postman delivers the letter to Paul, and he immediately knows what it is. And he shuts the door so Elaine doesn't hear and tries to talk to him outside. And he's like, okay, just give it to me. And he's like, oh, I can't. I have to personally deliver this to Mrs. Anderson. And he's like, don't blow up my spot, bro. I've already forgotten that hoe's name. Just give me the letter. And Elaine is hearing all of this, by the way, and the postman doesn't budge from his position. And I'm like, I know it's technically a law, but is it that big of a deal? Just give him the damn letter. Um, Elaine comes outside and signs for the letter. The postman leaves, and she goes back inside and just kind of holds it in her hand, contemplating. She knows. She clearly knows. And he walks inside after her, and he's like, and she tosses the letter unopened into the fireplace. And he asks her why, and she says, well, who needs a letter that's a year old anyway? And he promises he'll never write another letter. Now, I'm not going to judge her.
I am.
She's got she's got two kids, a third on the way. Plus, she's about 6 months out from the retirement home. This is the early 70s. She is probably totally financially dependent on Paul. I understand forgiving him and moving on. But today, in 2026, no, his ass is out the door. And
Okay,
he's getting served before he can say, I'm sorry.
okay. This is my problem with the whole thing. Even keep it in the 70s in that time period. And, let's say she has to stay with him. I mean, she's got two kids, one on the way, um, retirement home right around the corner. We're not sure if they allow bassinets in retirement homes, stuff like that. But I have to open that letter and read it. I cannot live the rest of my life without knowing it. I,
Yeah.
I and I don't know if up to that point she suspected something, but I would. She had to have suspected something because she doesn't seem shocked by it.
Yeah.
But I would have to have that conversation. Why did you do it? Uh, blah blah blah. I'm not saying she shouldn't live life with him and forgive him and try to rebuild things, but I just could not read the letter.
Same, same. I definitely would have read it.
Yeah.
Um, so they make up. I guess they're just gonna keep on living, and that is the conclusion of the Anderson story.
Well, she
What
died
happened to
too.
Lara? Who cares? And now the conclusion of the Parkington story. So Derek is living the good life off of Geraldine's money, and he's playing Carnegie Hall, and playing there again is not good enough, damn it. The postman delivers Penny's letter, and the butler or whatever says, oh, she doesn't live here anymore. So he has to track her down in this little apartment. And this poor, dumb woman still has a framed photo of him in her living room. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, it's sitting on the coffee table. I'm like, honey, don't do that to yourself. Anyway, the letter from Geraldine goes on and on about how happy she is with Derek. And so Penny reads this letter, takes it to Derek, confronts him with it, and the letter goes on to say that she actually did fall in love with Derek, and the postmark is the same day that she died. It goes on to say, "Thank God I never succeeded in suicide." So she probably didn't try and kill herself that day. And he's like, "Well, what motive would I have?" Pretty clear what your motive was, my dude. Money. Because and then the letter further says that Derek keeps bringing up the concert tour and she can't go through with it. Why? I don't know. I guess he's afraid he'll leave her once he has that, or she just can't stop being a bitch even when she's in love. She says that sometimes she sees hatred in his eyes and it frightens her. that he might even try to kill her. But also, she fell in love with him. Um, he's like, well, that doesn't prove anything. And she wonders, does it? Maybe she'll let the cops read the letter and decide for themselves. And he takes it out of her hand and rips it up, like, ha,
Well,
what you gonna do now?
she does say to him, this does not, these are not the words of someone who's getting ready to commit suicide. So that was like the fulcrum of telling him it doesn't make sense. This is why I can take it to the cops. I have evidence. So
Yeah,
anyway, go back to the ripped up letter.
yeah. So he rips it up, like, ha, showed you. And she's like, I'm not that dumb, actually. This is a copy. The original's with my lawyer, with a letter from her saying that if anything happens, you did it. With no immediate options, Derek begs her not to go to the police, and she's like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that." She's like, "I just have a few conditions. One, no more music for you ever, and secondly, bring my suitcase up to our bedroom." And then she calls him Eric, which made me laugh. So I'm here for her getting revenge, but she's also playing with fire. I would simply kick him out of the mansion and take it back myself. Because living with him, he will find a way to kill her eventually and make it look like something else, you know?
Yeah.
You just shouldn't allow him that much close access to you while you're blackmailing him.
Well, she should have taken it to the police and he should have been incarcerated. Then he would have never killed Ted Danson on the beach.
You know, you're so right. I didn't even
Yes.
think of that. So anyway, she goes upstairs. He does what she says, takes her suitcase and follows her upstairs. So I guess he's just gonna be her sex toy until he dies or finds a way to kill her.
Well,
The
there are
end.
worse ways to make a living.
And then finally, the Foresters. So Karen has her baby, but mom is the one taking care of her. She's like, Karen, don't you want to do this yourself? And she's like, no, I can't. Every time I look at my daughter, I wonder if Joe really did love me. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not the baby's fault. You
Yeah,
really
that,
shouldn't,
that was my thought, you know.
yeah, you shouldn't be punishing a baby for the sins of the father or the grandmother in this case.
But babies are so easy to punish.
But they're so cute. Why would you want to?
I don't want to. I'm just saying they're easy to punish.
So this wretched ogress still hasn't told Karen the truth. The postman arrives and delivers the letter. She reads it and is like, huh, maybe I am the worst person who ever lived. And Karen comes in, looks at the baby, and mom finally gives her the letter. And she's like, yeah, sorry, this is my bad. I just wanted what was best for you. And Karen reads it and is like, oh, well, I guess I can love my kid now. And instead of punching her mother in the throat like she should have, she instantly forgives her because she did the right thing. A year and a death later. Great. She could have simply told her the truth at any time, especially after Joe died and he wasn't a factor anymore. But she didn't. This woman is a monster. She doesn't deserve forgiveness. At least not that soon, in my opinion. But she's like, you gave me Joe back. She took him from you in the first place, sweetie. And then
Yes.
she goes, you gave me my daughter back. Now that's on you. You always had your daughter. You were just being weird. And that's, I guess, the happy ending to that story. The postman drives up to us in his car and tells us, you just never know what's in a letter, good news or bad news. We'll make sure you get your mail okay. It may take some time, but sooner or later, you'll get your letter. And after this movie, I'm taking that as a threat. The end.
Okay. The whole thing that is never addressed here is how in the hell does he know what happened with, was in these letters and what happened?
He's a magic postman.
No, he's a stalker. He reads your mail. He hangs around your house. He finds out what's going on.
He
This
lives
was a
off the
horror
drama.
film, Tabitha.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, he was so insistent about not giving Paul Elaine's letter, but obviously he read it.
So little plot hole there. So,
Yeah,
uh,
that's fair.
do you
That's why
think
it didn't get picked up.
do you think that I had seen this before? Uh, had seen the original broadcast, or if this was the first time I saw the letters?
First time.
It's the first time I saw the letters. Pretty cool. So, do you give it a classic or a trash it?
Well, originally I was gonna trash it, but this is the second time I've watched it, and it's kind of grown on me, so I'll give it a mild classic.
Okay. I have to give it a trash it. I would have given it a classic if they would have ended the three stories stronger. And I think that's probably why it didn't get picked up because you go through these three stories, which were pretty well done for, short TV things. They told the story in a short amount of time. But then the payoff that you've been waiting for, I thought all three were weak. I thought, oh, come on, man. Oh, come on, man. Oh, come on, man. All three of them. So I'm going to have to give it a trash it because they had me until the end. And then the end was such a letdown. I was like, eh. Uh,
That's fair. Well, how would you have ended the second two? I know you told me you would have had to read the letter in the first one, which I get. You think she should have just turned him in the second one?
oh, yeah, I think she should have just turned him in and then got the mansion and, him like underwater saying, I can hold my breath a long
A
time or
long time.
so. And the third one, um, I would have ended it, with her being angry at her mom for the whole situation.
Yeah, packing
So
up, packing the kid up and leaving.
yeah, so um, but yeah, I don't give it. I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm just saying it's good until the end when I thought it really fell off the table.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
So oh, remember last week I had a personal connection to the movie we watched.
Yes.
This I'm going to do that again. I
Oh
have
boy.
another movie that not only I have a personal connection to, but you do too. You just might not know about it. We're going to
Okay.
watch In Broad Daylight, and you can see this on YouTube. Not the 1971 version, the 1991 version with Brian Dennehy and Marcia Gay Harden and Cloris Leachman. So
Okay.
uh, make sure you don't watch that 71 one. Make sure you watch the 91. And
Okay.
Brian
Copy.
Dennehy is the most famous man in the world that does not have a neck.
I didn't know that. That's an interesting fact.
Yeah, he and that oh what's his name, Michael Chilkus. No necks. Where'd their neck?
Chickless.
Yeah, where'd their necks go? I don't know. They just walk around like this. There used to be a ball player in the 70s, and his nickname was No Neck because his head just kind of sat on his shoulders. Oh, well, uh, sorry this came out a day late, but last night, yesterday, I went to go see Tabitha's husband in a play called Drinking Habits at what's the name of that venue in Granite City, Illinois?
I forgot. Starts with an A.
Yeah, there's a venue that starts with an A in Granite City, Illinois that does plays. It's a fun little venue. They had concessions and stuff there. Play is fantastic. Tabitha's husband Mondo does a wonderful job playing a priest, and the cast is very strong. So you can look it up if you're on Facebook. Drinking Habits Granite City, you'll find it. Mondo Franco, you'll find it. Tabitha Franco, you'll find it. Me, you'll find it because I actually put a post on, but it's fantastic. So that's after that, went out to eat with my other daughter and her boyfriend, and it was too late. So we're recording a day late. So you're getting this a day late. We're sorry. You
We're
don't look
sorry.
you're sorry, Tabitha.
Well, it's technically your fault, not mine,
Oh
so
yeah, it is.
I don't know why I should apologize.
I don't know because we just watched a movie where everything's good at the end.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you all next week.